We have a great guest today. Shannon McCarthy is a student athlete at the University of Miami, a soccer player, and red shirt junior. How about that? From Brighton, Michigan. So Shannon, come on up, and today they won in double overtime. And
Thank you. Well, it is an honor to be speaking with all of you today. I've been going to Athletes in Action with Steve and Arlene at their home with other athletes for quite a while now, and recently I've been asked to share my story with different groups.
We didn't know she had a story. She looks so healthy.
And so I'm really, everyone's gonna get to know me pretty well right now. So like Steve said, I'm from Michigan. I graduated high school early, and I was very, very excited to start my collegiate soccer career here. I was 17 years old. I was away from home for the first time, and I came down here and I took everything on by storm. I started school really well. I was doing well on the field. I was figuring things out, and suddenly I began to realize that my left arm would swell and become blue, and I had no idea why this was happening. And shortly after that, I was diagnosed with a medical condition called thoracic outlet syndrome, which is my first rib on my left side, and the muscle that was attached to it was pinching and compressing my nerve, my artery, and my vein going into my left arm. And in order to protect itself from rupturing, my vein actually clotted to not rupture. And I was told instantly that I was going to have surgery in the near future so that I would be ready to compete my freshman year, and that I was going to be on blood thinners instantly, where I was taking a pill every day and I was injecting myself in the stomach every 12 hours, so twice a day. And I had no control for the very first time in my life. I experienced doubt. I really doubted myself if I was going to be able to recover from all of this serious medical stuff and be able to play at an elite level. And surgery went well that summer. I was really, really hopeful. I thought, okay, like maybe I can do this because I recovered so well and I experienced immediate relief. And I had to go back. I had to undergo a procedure where they were going to check the status of that clot. And I thought, okay, I've been injecting myself for so long. I've been on these medications. Like, I have to be ready to go. Like, surgery went so well. This is all gonna work out. Like, I'm gonna be fine. And I was crushed because I was told that I still had that clot and that I was going to have to continue injecting myself. And that is when I felt helpless. And I just said, there's no way. There's no way I'm gonna be able to, go on this course of medication and then 2 weeks later have to be ready for preseason and pass fitness tests for soccer. And that's when my parents felt very strongly that I make my anointing of the sick sacrament. So in the Catholic Church, it's a very powerful prayer. It's an oil blessing, and it's really for families who have a loved one close to death or a terminal illness of some sort. And I was so reluctant. I did not want to go, and my parents insisted that I went, and so I just went for them, not expecting to be affected by any means. And this is my first kind of profound experience with the spiritual side of life, is that I was affected. I did feel a presence there, and I somehow knew that God was just standing outside of my door, just knocking, and I was just content with leaving him out there. And because I wanted that control. And even though I ignored him, I still had that sense that he was close to me. So I kind of ran with that strength a little bit. And once my course of the injections was over, I worked so hard and I ran so much to be ready for preseason. And no one expected me, a new freshman, to come in after this huge surgery and be able to pass. And I did. And I shocked everyone. And I was so proud of myself. And I was so greedy because I took all of that credit where, looking back, there's no way I could have done that by myself. So I was really, really proud of myself. I had a great freshman year. And I was eager to build on that and going into the off season, and the symptoms came back. My arm would swell, it would turn blue, and I was so far in denial because I thought my head was playing tricks on me. I thought there's no way this is coming back. I thought it was done, and I didn't tell anyone. I kept it quiet. And I didn't tell anyone until it was too late. My health became a state of emergency. That clot had broken off and gone into my arm. So this was my a relapse where I was put on heparin for 24 hours. I went through a thrombolysis treatment. I had a sheath in my arm that was just dripping clot-busting material for 24 hours. I was in intensive care unit at 18. And I was in so much pain, and I felt so selfish for doing this to my family. All I needed to do was tell someone. And I had another brush with the spiritual side of life. I was partially sedated. I was in the catheterization lab. I was going through a procedure that was kind of compressing that clot into my vein wall to alleviate the blockage. And I had my eyes closed, and on the back of my eyelids I saw the words, "Fear not, for I, the Lord your God, will hold your right hand, saying, fear not, I will help you." And I had no idea what this was. At some point, there was that presence feeling again, that he was with me and that he was still knocking and still with me, even though I hadn't opened that door yet for him. So I had to find out what that was, and I found that was Isaiah 41:13. And so I knew, okay, I'm going to be okay right now. And I had another comeback. I was back in control of my life again, and I was building on my freshman year. I earned a starting spot my sophomore year. Things are great. And then again, I woke up and my arm is swollen, and I'm thinking to myself, why is this happening to me? And I told someone right away this time. I figured, okay, if I tell someone, then it's not going to be as bad, or I'm going to be okay. I won't have to go through everything that I went through. And I was completely wrong. I underwent the same treatment, heparin, thrombolysis, intensive care unit, extremely painful, and I was completely helpless. I was out of control again. I lost my season. I was going to be injecting myself twice a day for 6 months, and I just was, why does this keep happening to me? And I was an emotional roller coaster without soccer my sophomore year, where I had such high hopes. I was angry, I was frustrated, I was helpless, I was being tested for a genetic disorder. That might explain why I clot so much, and I was in serious need of hope. I searched for obvious Bible verses that would just speak blatantly to me, that I didn't necessarily have to apply to my life, that would maybe give me hope. But at the bottom line was, I needed to live for something because I didn't have soccer. And I didn't know if I was ever going to have soccer, because if I had this genetic clotting disorder, I was going to be disqualified from competing. And I was just waiting for 24 hours for these results that was going to determine my fate, if I was going to be able to play or not. And as an athlete who has struggled with perspective, that 24 hours could have absolutely destroyed me. I could have lost complete control of my emotions. Strangely, I was overcome with this sense of like peace and grace that was completely out of my body. Like that did not come from me. And I think, and that was God's way of kind of telling me, okay, it's gonna be okay. Like I'm with you. Just this presence. And once I got that phone call from my surgeon, she told me my biggest fear, that I did have. My condition is what is called Factor V Leiden. So I have been genetically predisposed to clotting the entire time, and no one knew, and it kind of explains the relapses. But as she was telling me this, she also said, I have come up with a plan for you. You are going to be able to play with this. Like, this is not going to define you as an athlete. This is not going to define you as a person. And I just felt this like waterfall of relief, like shower over me. And it really inspired me to get other areas of my own life, not just as an athlete, healthier. So I freed myself of entangled relationships. And when I came back to the field, it was the most glorious comeback that I had ever had, because I was playing as a testament to his goodness after everything I have been through. And I didn't necessarily open that door, that he loves me so much that he was there with me the whole time. And I wanted to continue that celebration, so I kind of like dove headfirst into faith. And when I discovered Athletes in Action with Steve and Arlene, it was my way of swinging that door open for him and just saying yes and taking his hand. And so that is when I started my walk with God. And now I'm at a place where I view my sport as a means of glorifying him. I look at myself as a daughter of Christ who happens to play college soccer. Not a soccer player who happens to be a daughter of Christ. And so I am walking with him confidently now. And I hope my story has been able to kind of inspire you if, something's going on, that he's with you no matter what. And now that I'm walking with him, like, I'm never letting go, and I know he's not either. So it's been a long 2 years, but I am in a very good spot now.